Hey, it's Chris Aiken from the Classic Metal Show, and I want to invite you to my first ever public book signing. I'll be doing a special reading, question and answer session, and a signing of my new book, Little Victories, A Tale of Divorce, Debauchery, and Finding Happiness on Thursday, March 20th at Visible Voice Books, located at 1023 Kenilworth Road, Cleveland, Ohio, 44113. I'll have a limited supply of Little Victories on hand to sign. I'll be reading selections from Little Victories, as well as telling stories and reading some material that was left out of Little Victories. I'll end with a Q&A session that will be a no-holds-barred affair. The signing will be from 7 to 9 p.m. at Visible Voice Books, 1023 Kenilworth Road, Cleveland, Ohio, 44113. Come out, have some fun, and be a part of a rare appearance from me, Chris Aiken.
It is your Classic Metal Show right here on the ClassicMetalShow.com. That is Ratt with What I'm After. And apparently there's some problems in the Ratt camp. I guess there's still some problems between Stephen Piercy and the rest of the band. As you know, Chris, Bobby Blotzer, for whatever reason, and I don't even know the reason, but he's got a problem with Juan Crucier.
Yeah, I don't get it, man. I mean, we saw him, last summer?
Yeah, last summer in Oshkosh.
And at least chemistry-wise on stage, no. All I can speak of is two places: on stage and in the food court, or the
catering tent.
Yeah, the catering tent. Both places, everybody seemed to get along great. Didn't seem to have any problem. Now, admittedly, Bobby and Juan were never together that I saw them. But, I mean, on stage, they performed flawlessly. In the tent, I mean, hell, we ate dinner with...
Yeah, we sat at the table with Warren and Carlos and Juan and Don and
Steven
John
was in
and
there.
Steven and everybody. I was out running and looking for ice and booze for Steven.
Right. We were everybody was having a good time. It didn't seem like there was any chaos that day anyway.
Sure.
But, yeah, I don't know what it is, but Bobby just cannot. Whatever Juan did, Juan must have fucked his mom or something. Because there's got to be something bad that he just keeps holding this instead of... Dude's literally killing... He takes money out of his pocket with every fucking tweet that he puts out there.
I agree. Hail and kill, caller. You're on the air.
So what's the deal? I mean, is Ratt really over? What have you guys heard?
Well, Tim, we're actually discussing it right now. So, do you want to be a part of the conversation, or do you want to just hang up and listen?
Well, if you want me to chime in, I will. But
why don't you just be third mic, Tim? As long as your wife doesn't kill you while you speak to us.
That's fine.
All right, you can be third mic. How's that?
Yep, no worries.
All right, you can chime in anytime you feel you got something of value to add.
Okay, no worries.
Tim,
cool.
Shut up!
All right. Well, anyway, okay, Tim, we're going to work this just like a 3-mic show, okay? So you just hang in there, and then when you feel like you need to chime in, you need to chime in, all right?
No worries.
All right, no worries. All right. So anyway, as you were saying, Chris, last summer we were hanging out with Ratt, and everybody seemed to be getting along, and there didn't seem to be a lot of animosity.
Yeah.
But I know for a fact because when Juan rejoined the band during the M3 show last year, that was the first time he'd been with them. And Tim, what are you playing in the background? Tim.
It's just the radio in the background.
Well, can you turn it off?
Tim, you need to be a listener now.
All right. So
better?
I'm trying to make you third mic, Tim. You gotta cooperate. There you go. No noise in the background. No noise.
All right, no worries.
So anyway, when they performed at M3 and Juan joined the band, Juan, just like Jeff Pilson and just like Michael Anthony, adds a certain element to the band that is just missing when he's not there on stage. That is background vocals.
Yeah, definitely.
And you know there's a difference there when Juan is not on stage with them.
Tim, we thought we told you to turn that radio off.
I did, man. I did.
Tim, we still hear it. See, did you just hear it, Neeley?
Probably.
You're listening to us talk to you on your phone or whatever.
What are you doing, Tim?
Yeah. I'm just sitting here in the car. My wife's driving the car. I'm listening to you guys talk.
No,
and I'm just waiting to chime in whenever.
Okay. Well, Tim, why don't you give us your assessment of what you think is going on there?
Okay. Well, first of all, you guys might know this more than I would. How much would those guys get a show?
I know for a fact it's like 20,000.
Right. Okay. And I don't know, but I'm assuming that, except for maybe Steven, I don't know. Like, do you reckon any of those guys have got much money?
Well, if you figure they play 4 shows a week at $20,000 a crack, and supposedly, according to Bobby Blotzer's posts, they're splitting at 25% evenly. So we're talking, $4,000 a piece minus expenses.
Yeah.
It would be $5,000, but let's just say 1,000 out of everybody's pockets goes toward the bus and the travel and the roadies and whatever.
That's wrong.
Yeah.
Aren't there 5 guys?
So,
No, there's 4.
There's Juan.
Yeah, but Carlos, I don't think he's a 25%er, do you?
Get paid something, doesn't he?
Yeah, he gets paid, but I'm taking that in the $1,000 out of each pocket.
Okay.
So $4,000 a piece. Piercy, Juan, Blotzer, and DeMartini takes $4,000 a piece.
Okay.
And then there's $4,000 left over for Carlos Cavazzo and expenses per show.
Okay.
Okay, does that sound reasonable?
but they'd only make that when they're on tour, right?
Yeah, but when they're touring, but you think that's per night, okay? So they play 4 shows a night or a week, I mean, and they, I don't know how many weeks out of the year. Let's say they do 10 weeks out of the year. So that's 20,000 a week times 10. That's $200,000.
Okay, so it's about $200,000 a year.
Okay, so can you live on $200,000 a year?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
But do you think they're getting? I mean, I don't know because I live in a completely different country, but I'm assuming they don't get a ton of radio airplay over there, and they're not selling a ton of albums anymore.
That's neither here nor there, Tim. There's no money in that, none.
Right.
The only money they're making is off of touring and merchandise. That's it, period. There's not making money off of royalties or recording or anything. That's very infinitesimal, to use a big word.
Yeah. So okay. So Blotzer basically is willing to throw $200,000 a year away, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, let's.
What is that noise in the background?
I mean, that's my daughter on her iPod.
Tell her to shut it. You're on the phone with fancy men.
Yes, you're on a major worldwide broadcast.
Tell her to shut it, or you'll slap her shaky.
Or you'll put her on the roof rack.
Oh, or I'll hang her on the clothesline by a toenail.
Is that what you'll do?
All right, Tim, do you want to be a part of this or not?
Tim, I think you need to go raise your kids.
Okay. All right. Okay. Hail and kill.
Hail and kill. I tried to include him. I tried to be nice. I tried to make him a part of the show, and there's just noise.
I know you like the newer Chris that does not mean, but you're really going to make me mean. Hang up.
I was trying to include Tim and Third Mike.
Well, why don't we just include everybody then?
Because Tim seems to have some insight. Not.
What insight does Tim have?
None.
The only insight Tim would have is if you handed him a maraca and had him stand on stage shaking during round and round.
Sure.
That's it. He could fucking tiptoe around and spin in circles like a fucking goof.
Right. Just like
Steven Jackson in the chat room. Fucked him.
Right.
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
Jesus.
He could be a whirling dervish on the side of the stage.
That's right.
All right. Anyway, getting back to this.
All right.
So Juan rejoined the Ratt camp back in M3 a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw the M3 video footage.
Yeah.
And it was very clear the element that Juan adds to the band as a lineup.
Sure. And that's nothing against Robbie, because Robbie's a damn good bassist himself.
Yeah, but he didn't have... It's just like I said, Michael Anthony has that background vocal. Jeff Pilson has that background vocal. Juan has that background vocal. That's a key element for that chemistry that they had on stage.
And the other thing that Juan does bring is he brings a lot of that energy back to the band on stage.
He does.
Him and Carlos.
Absolutely.
Carlos does too. Those two fucking bring fire that Ratt hasn't had in years.
I agree. And Carlos was an absolute great pick for the second guitar.
Right.
He brings in the element that Robin Crosby left behind.
Certainly does.
You know, nothing against John Corabi, but he wasn't the dynamic guitarist that Carlos Cavazo is.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. That's correct. Absolutely.
So, and nice guy too.
Sure. Oh yeah. Real good guy.
Friendly as hell.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, for whatever reason, and I got this on the inside, that Blotzer just absolutely hates Juan Crucier.
Okay.
He hates him. I don't know why. I don't know the answer, but he just hates him. He didn't want him part of the band. I understood that when Juan showed up, now this is not fact, this is just hearsay.
Okay.
Allegedly, that when Juan showed up for the M3 festival, that Bobby was on the phone already trying to get him thrown out of the band via legal means.
Oh, my God. Are you kidding?
That's what I was told. Okay?
So how did he end up in the band in the first place? Did Warren and Steven take a vote?
They agreed. They agreed to bring him in.
So 2 out of 3 rules? Is that how that worked?
Well, here's the thing. Warren and Bobby are the principals now.
Oh, Steven doesn't get a vote.
He doesn't get a vote because when Steven left the band back in 2000...
Gave up the rights.
He gave up the rights.
Okay.
So... Blotzer and Warren are 50-50 in the Ratt entity.
See, now that makes some sense. So that's why also when Bobby starts all this bullshit, why Steven's like, okay, go fuck yourself.
Right.
Because he doesn't have a stake anyway. He can go and just fucking do Rat Bastards and make $15,000.
Sure.
Makes sense.
Right. So anyway, whatever happened this week, something boiled to the surface again.
Yeah.
And Blotzer's been on a tear, and I'm not going to read all of his posts or whatever. All I'm going to read is the Stephen Piercy statement that he read this week. I guess Ratt is supposed to be on that rock and roll cruise in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, like at the end of the month.
Right. So anyway, it said, it's unfortunate, egotistical, self-serving, insecure, and... again, so destructive for the rest of us, or 2 of us. Wonder who the 2 of us is.
I'm going to say Juan and him.
Juan and him. In the ongoing, complicated process to moving forward as the remaining original members of the band Ratt.
Right.
What I do personally, and who with, be it shows or making records, is of my own choice and mine alone.
Okay, so basically Blot said, I won't make a record with Juan.
Either that or he doesn't like the fact that Steven does solo stuff outside of Ratt.
Okay.
I don't know that. That's just what I'm reading into it.
Sure.
My past had nothing to do with this one person's ranting or the group.
Wow.
I personally have a different responsibility for a new record and intend to see it accomplished ASAP.
Okay.
So I don't know if that means a Ratt record or if that means a Stephen Piercy record, but since Piercy puts out his own records on Top Fuel Records, I can't imagine that, so I'm going to assume it's a deal for Ratt.
See, here's my question. I get all that, and if they can't get along, then there is no deal. And I know that's what Bobby said in one of his 400.
Yeah, he said there's no record.
Said there is no record. So in other words, he doesn't like what Steven wants to do.
Apparently not.
It's fine. Here's the real question. At this point in the career, okay, let's take Steven and Bobby and put them on left and right side, okay? Now we're going to take the other guys. We're going to take Warren
and Juan
and Carlos
Cavazo.
Yeah. Where do you land? Do you go over with Steven, call it Rat Bastards, and fucking put another drummer in place? Or do you stay with Bobby, put a new singer, call it Rat, and try and make it go?
Well, this all falls back on the what makes a band.
Yeah, this could be the telltale here.
Yeah. And this all falls into that whole category is what is their recognizable sound? And their recognizable sound obviously is Warren DeMartini, and it always comes down to the singer and the lead guitarist, doesn't it?
It always is.
So it comes down to Warren DeMartini's guitar tone and Stephen Pearcy's vocal. Always.
See, that's what I think, too. I think those guys, at this point, would be best served to go with Steven.
Right.
Call it Rat Bastards. Everyone will know it's Rat anyway. And just play.
And to be honest with you, I think Warren just tolerates Bobby.
That's what I mean. I think if Steven went into it and said, "Look, we'll do a fair partnership, between us four. We'll hire a drummer. We'll get Mike Fasano to play drums, whoever, they would be Rat, regardless of if it's called Rat or not.
Sure.
They would be the one that would get the record deal. They would be the one that would get the $20,000 a tour, regardless of the fucking name."
Look at Mr. Scary. I can't wait to see Blotzer on drums, said no one ever.
He's not a good drummer.
It sounds like an Archer line.
Oh, it does, but dude, we watched him. He's not a good drummer.
He's the average. I mean, look at, you got a Jimmy DeGrasso on stage that played with Doc in the day that we saw them.
Mm-hmm.
And we asked Jimmy. You asked Jimmy.
Yeah.
Straight up on the phone when I had him on the phone.
Right.
About Blotzer, and he didn't go into, yeah, he's a great drummer. Yeah, he's a pretty nice guy. Played with lots of gigs with him. That's what he said, right?
Yeah. Yep, that's what he said.
So.
Oh,
and we had Blotzer on the phone. Remember I gave you the phone and you interviewed him live?
Yeah, and he was like, "What is this, metal sludge?"
Yeah, what is this, metal sludge?
Yeah, dick.
So, I don't know. So to finish Pearcy's statement.
Yeah.
Other than that, I hope to be on that cruise gig and cannot comment on nor confirm any other Rat shows at this time. A press release from my management will be presented soon. I have no further comments. Stephen E. Pearcy, Top Fuel Records.
Wow.
So
talk about a uncomfortable hallway on the cruise ship.
Right. Hail and kill caller, you're on the air. No, nobody there.
Not going to be a comfortable walkway on that ship.
Right.
Yikes.
Yeah. Well, anyway, speaking of that,
yeah,
as you know, Pearcy left Ratt back in, 2000?
Mm-hmm. Hey, I'm curious, before you go too far with this,
yeah,
can he still be Stephen Pearcy's Ratt? Or did they?
No, he lost that battle. Remember, that's why he had to go with the Rat Bastards.
Oh, is that what it was? I thought that he just stopped doing it.
No. He went out as Stephen Pearcy's Rat, and they filed an injunction against him.
Okay.
And then he had to just go with Stephen Pearcy's Rat Bastards.
All right.
That's why he calls them the Rat Bastards.
Okay.
Hail and kill caller, you're on the air.
It's not like he's Tommy Lee or Randy Castillo. Hail and kill.
What is wrong with him?
Tim's a quick hitter.
Or Sam Maloney. Other name, Samantha Maloney?
Yeah. So, anyway, back in 2000, the catch-all singer, Robert Mason,
Right.
who is currently with Warrant, who's also sang with Cry of Love.
And Big Cock.
And also with Big Cock, and, you know, he's with Lynch Mob.
Yeah, sometimes.
He's a great singer. Well,
he really is good.
He tried out for Ratt.
No kidding.
Yep. And I got some of the scratch tracks of Robert Mason doing "Lovin' You's a Dirty Job."
Now this is the same auditions where Steven or Jizzy ended up with the gig.
Yeah, so it came down between Robert Mason or Jizzy Pearl, and they picked Jizzy because he more had sort of a Stephen Piercy-ish whine to his voice. Again, I guess Robert was too smooth.
All right.
But I'm going to play Robert Mason doing "Lovin' You's a Dirty Job." Hail and kill, caller. You're on the air.
Hey, it's Steve Jackson in South Carolina.
What's going on, Steve Jackson in South Carolina? Are you raising the stars and bars tonight?
I am. I went to a store today and I bought a patch that had an eagle that had rebel flags on both wings. It's pretty badass.
Nice. You wear your X and I'll wear mine.
Definitely.
They didn't sell soul food in there now, did they?
No, not at all. I have to wonder, maybe, has anyone brought up the point that maybe Ratt had the best management that totally, didn't fuck them over, that totally, they're all super set for life and just really kind of half care? I wonder.
No, I don't think, I don't think that's the case at all. Not at all.
No chance.
Nope.
It's weird because it's like you guys, the time's not on their side. They should really get while the getting's good and make that retirement money.
Listen, nobody agrees with that more than I do, and I'm sure Chris will agree with that. It's just like, dudes, you are 55 years old. Stop fucking around. Go out there and make your retirement money because this isn't going to last forever.
I'll tell you where the telltale sign is. That they did not make a shit ton of money, and it's easy to see. I'll challenge anybody to go out and look up any live footage of Ratt over the last 2 years. And I only know this because we were standing right next to the fucking equipment. If you look at Warren DeMartini's guitar, Warren DeMartini should have an army of guitars, don't you think?
Yeah, you'd think you have an arsenal to play, yes.
On stage, he has 2 guitars. And the one that he plays, the one that looks like a snake, has the snake pattern on it, is worn to shit. And you saw it, didn't you, Neeley?
Oh, absolutely.
All the paint's wore off and it's all scuffed up. It looks like it looks like something you'd see in a local band. In fact, most local bands would take better care of their guitar because they can't afford another one. I mean, this thing is beat to fuck. And that's what Warren is playing out there every single night. And that is your telltale, that he doesn't even want to spend money to get a newer, cleaner, guitar.
Yeah, I saw him with Jizzy back in 06 on the Cinderella package tour. And he was playing it back then, actually.
And it was probably a piece of shit then, too. I mean, it's not in all fairness, it has great sound. It does sound fantastic, and that could be why he plays it, but this is Warren DeMartini. This is a guy that sold, 80 million records? Ratt sold a shit ton of records, man. For him to have 2 guitars on tour, that's not much. Yeah. Van Halen had what? How many did Van Halen have?
He probably
12?
had at least a dozen.
He had 12 with him. And Warren had 2.
I mean, Ernie Ball probably just, shipped a boatload of them to Eddie years ago, and he just, has them around and takes them on tour.
Yeah, but even Carlos had more than 2. Didn't Carlos have 4 or 5 over there?
Yeah, he had to have a dozen with him.
Yeah, I mean, and again, I could be reading into something that's not even there, but, you just got to think that these guys did not do well with their money. None of them.
Well, I know for a fact that back in 2000, when Piercy bailed on the tour, they were supposed to launch a tour in, I think it was January or February of 2000.
Yeah.
They were supposed to launch a tour with it was going to be Ratt and I think it was Ratt and Dokken, twin bill, and they were guaranteed $250,000 for the tour. And when Piercy bailed, they were in a panic to find somebody right away because they needed that money.
Wow.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Well, yeah. What do I know?
These guys are not well off. Believe me, they didn't do well with their money.
None of them did. Very few. Even the guys that did do pretty well, I mean, they're not loaded.
No.
Me and you happen to know one singer that did pretty well, and he's not loaded.
Nope.
I mean, he's got money. He's got more than me or you, but he's not.
He's not filthy rich.
He's not movie star wealthy.
No.
By a long shot.
Well, at least we have that one singer who knows you want it.
That guy's plenty wealthy.
Yeah, he's got lots of cash.
Sadly, that's the kind of shitbag that does have money.
Somehow the douchebags always rise to the top. That you don't know why.
Vince Neil's broke. You got to think Vince Neil's broke.
I would hate to think that he blew through all that Motley money in the last 10 years.
I think he totally did.
Really?
Oh yeah. He has 3 divorces and fucking buys and loses houses and keeps wrecking cars and shit. Fuck yes, he's broke.
Who's more broke, Vince Neil or Ric Flair?
Ric Flair. Ric Flair is the saddest of the sad. You know anything about him, Neely?
No. I know who he is, but I don't know about him on a personal level.
Ric Flair at one time, it was him and Hulk Hogan were like fucking the biggest of the rock stars in that world. And now Ric Flair is begging to be, interviewing guys backstage at wrestling because he's too old to fucking wrestle.
He's kind of like the movie The Wrestler.
He really is. That's a great analogy. He's that guy now. His name was big enough that he gets to stay with WWE, but he's just a pathetic shell of himself. It's sad to see him. It's just sad to see him.
There was a wrestling show in Spartanburg, South Carolina, about 3 weeks ago that he was kind of the host of.
Okay.
Kind of said, he just kind of came out and said, yeah, I had a lot of fun in this town, 30, 40 years ago. And he didn't wrestle, but he just kind of hosted it, and he was kind of him-hawing about how much money he was getting, and was like, yeah, sure, Rick, you're getting $10,000 for this, yeah.
No, he's not getting nothing anymore. Hell, now half the time, he spends more time showing up at shows to pimp that his daughter or something is wrestling. He uses his name to get his daughter work.
I mean, he does lottery ticket commercials here in South Carolina. I mean, yeah.
All right, Steve.
But hella kill, fuck you, pal, and job.
There goes Steve Jackson.
Yes.
All right. As I was saying, Steven bailed on Ratt back in 2000, and then, he went out later that year with the Voices of Metal tour where, he was with Vince Neil, Stephen Piercy solo, Vixen, when we asked Jan Keeneman about the Punch-Out backstage.
Right.
And Slaughter.
Sure.
And then, of course, they brought on Jizzy. Well, Robert Mason tried out for the Ratt gig, and there is a demo out there of Robert Mason doing Lovin' You's a Dirty Job.
Okay, cool.
So I'm going to play this. Hang on a minute. Hail and Kill, caller, you're on the air.
Hail and Kill, are you telling me those guys didn't make a ton of money on contraband?
Contraband. Contraband.
Yikes.
Wasn't that Tracy Guns, Bobby Blotzer, Michael Schenker, Cher Pedersen?
Yeah, it was horrible.
Yeah, it was just a compilation record. I have that, actually.
Well, don't go out of your way to pull it out.
I'm not going to pull it out. I just happen to have the CD.
That disc sucked.
Yeah. So, anyway, I'm going to play this tune, and then we'll get into our next interview, which...
with Martyred.
Yeah, Martyred.
Yeah.
Know nothing about them. But anyway, I'm going to let you hear Robert Mason,
all right,
who's currently with Warrant, sing Lovin' You's a Dirty Job. Actually, it was pretty good. I think you liked it as well, didn't you?
Yeah, it's not bad at all.
All right, well, here's Robert Mason trying out for the Ratt gig back in 2000 before they selected Jizzy Pearl to front the band for 10 years before Steven came back. So it's Robert Mason exclusively here
on your classic metal show. Hey, it's Chris Aiken from the Classic Metal Show. Most people know me as the foul-mouthed shock jock from the Classic Metal Show, or the no-nonsense heavy metal critic from pitriff.com. Now you get to learn the other side. My first book, Little Victories, A Tale of Divorce, Debauchery, and Finding Happiness, comes out on January 13th in paperback and digital formats on Amazon and iTunes. It details my real-world emotional struggles over a year that included a divorce after a quarter-century of marriage and the death of my father. It profiles things I did right, as well as a bevy of things that I did wrong with the help of alcohol, and how I found my way out of the muck of the emotional state that almost saw me commit suicide. Pre-order your copy of Little Victories, A Tale of Divorce, Debauchery, and Finding Happiness today at www.chrisaikenbooks.com and get in touch with the more fallible side of me, Chris Aiken. Sounds happy, huh?